Wave 91.7 Port Harcourt, everything on PlayStation. And of course, this is Real Talk with Christopher Nwoko, the main man of radio. Anthonia, of course, is here with me. And Assabill is here as well.
I like it that ladies come before gentlemen.
Yes, always.
Evidently.
We're straight to the major conversations. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has transmitted a constitutional amendment bill to the National Assembly seeking the establishment of state police in Nigeria. While the debate has forced heavily on whether state police is a good or a bad idea, another critical issue is the process required for this bill to actually become law. Because it's a constitutional amendment, the bill must pass through a rigorous and multi-layered legislative process involving both the National Assembly and the State House of Assembly. This means that even with strong political backing, state police is not immediate, but it depends on several stages of approval before implementation. But I'm very optimistic. The way I'm looking at it, the way it's going, I feel that this is already a done deal. During the course of the show, we have to listen to, get across to a security expert. His name Chief Jackson Lekonjo. He'll be joining us right here on Real Talk to get his take exactly on the state police bill. But I'll come to you, Tonya, on this. You had a concern yesterday when you said that, of course, it's a good idea. The state police situation is a good idea, but the state, do they have what it takes to actually run the state police the way it ought to be run? Every state in Nigeria. That was your major concern. You still have that concern?
I still do have that concern. But somebody said something that was a bit funny. Before we go to that, somebody said that, see how almost all the governors are in support of state police. It seems like they have an ulterior motive for, wanting to establish state police. But on a serious note, right? Look, they have been complaining though that they are being called chief security officers of their state, but
without any power.
Yes. And others are also saying, but they do get security votes. So what do they do with that security vote, right? So in as much as you'd be like, oh, I'm being called chief, the chief of whatever, but you're not having the authority to command the police and whatnot. But you still have security votes. What are you doing with the security votes, right? Now, back to my question. Back to your question. If I still have reserves over some states I cannot afford to, I still have that reserve. Okay, I still have that reserve because not every state can implement it unless after the establishment of the state police there is a bigger framework in terms of funding, right? There is a plan for that as well. Others are also saying that maybe this is the federal government's way of trying to reflect when it comes to blame back to the governors. Okay, like yesterday example, you did mention, we're talking about our power, you did mention something, you said, at least Tinubu has tried to decentralize our power sector, right? Giving state authority to establish their own power sources and what's not, right? So now, in the same argument, if state police is established, others can say, okay, after all, Tinubu, the federal government have given the state authority to run their own police forces, right? So you can't hold the federal government accountable anymore. You have to hold the state government accountable. Another thing that also brings a concern is the training
of these personnel. Would it be as effective as the federal?
Do you understand? Would it be as effective as the federal? So as we're looking at the resources, not just monetary resources, let's look at the training that these officers will have to have and all that. And also, there's also the fear of over-familiarity. The reason for the federal police is because, at least you'll not get too comfortable in your posting, right? You're not say, at any point in time you could be, moved away. So there's a whole lot that we need to look into. Let me
go to Excel on this. Another concern by people, political analysts as well, as the governors will take advantage of the state police against political parties and all of that. But that particular section was actually rectified on that bill. It was clarified to in a way that the governors would not be able to take advantage of the state police in their territory. You think that's a good one?
It's one thing to say.
It's another thing.
It's another thing to do. We've been in this country where and when procedures have been laid down, including restrictive provisions of the law that say, oh, you shouldn't go this far with this. This is your limit. This is what you should not do. And we have had the same political and governance structure flout these provisions, and heaven has not fallen. Right? So when I read through the provisions of this bill yesterday, and I looked at the part that talked about not allowing governors, overstep their bounds, this is what the limit is meant to be.
Yeah.
I just laughed to myself. Is this not the same country we're talking about? Which is why I remember I said to us yesterday, the restructuring needed is not state police. The restructuring we need is not even, what do you call it now? Community policing. No, not at all. It's a mindset restructuring for everybody. That is where the real
Yeah, that's what you
work-
said. That's what you said, yes.
Yeah, that's where the real work lies. Otherwise, by the time you're done doing this, the same persons that got into power through an election that counted 1, 2, and then jumps to 15, 92, 97, would look at your same laws, trample them underfoot, magnify the aspect of the law that gives them power, perhaps to appoint the CP for the states, and makes the CP answerable to them, and send everything to the gutters. Now, you have other provisions that give room for not using the state police structure to pursue religious interests, to pursue ethnic interests, and the rest of them. How are we going to see that play out? You also have something I view as a ticking time bomb there, that perhaps when a governor does not agree with the federation, the state police may become an apparatus to instigate more troubles than ever, because at this point you're talking about legitimate arms in the hands of a law enforcement agency recognized by the laws of the land. Now, what do I mean by this? You have a governor that says to the center, I'm not okay with what you're doing, I don't think I'm going to go this way, we're going this other way. And then you have the federal police that has an oversight function, has its own jurisdiction, matters they are meant to handle, which does not exclude them from finding a place within your state. You have them fully armed, obeying the last command from Abuja. Then you have another set of police officers known as your state police, fully armed, obeying the commands of the number one man in the state. Excuse us. Who told us that we might not just be sitting on another poorly designed sides tool that might throw us off at the next shift?
That's on a negative angle now.
On the negative
no,
angle.
it's
That's
not
on
a
a-
negative
I know.
angle.
It might sound realistic on its end,
Yeah.
but I would want everybody to look at it from the fact that we're at a critical point right now.
Critical point that is
In terms of insecurity, I mean, we
But
cannot
I
afford
think I'll
to.
agree. If you're talking about critical points now, then I'll agree with what Excel said,
Yeah.
which is that we need a mind restructuring before we even think about establishing state police. Are we even ready for that? Okay, let's look at countries that have established state police. Even the United States still face as established as the United States is, right? And as well as they are vested in democracy and whatnot, they still struggle with that. First of all, they still have having when it comes to political interferences, right? Excel also mentioned something very critical. The standards will differ. Even in the United States, that they also have different standards. And imagine such a thing happening here in Nigeria.
I get that.
Where the standards are
I get
different.
that.
How would it happen there?
I get that. Let's look at.
Please, sir, I don't need to agree.
Oh, okay.
I don't, because you said it's negative, so I would also be interested in hearing the positive.
No, okay, I will come to that. But the people need to know key details as regards this particular bill. So the bill seeks to alter the section 214 of the 1999 Constitution to fundamentally restructure internal security. Of course, the concurrent list moving policing from the exclusive legislative list, where only the federal government has the power, to the concurrent legislative list. This grants both the federal and the state government the legal authority to operate police force. Now, coexisting state police force will operate alongside the existing federal police, that's the Nigerian police force, decentralizing the security apparatus to tackle local threats like banditry, kidnapping, and insurgency. And of course, the implementation and the minimum standard to ensure that uniform quality state cannot simply launch a police force overnight. The national standard: no state police formation can commence operation unless it meets national minimum benchmark for recruitment, training, and equipment prescribed by the Act of the National Assembly. Another one here says the state legislation. A state must first pass an enabling law through its own state House of Assembly, and the federal backs up. Now, until a state's police force is fully certified and operational, the federal police will continue to handle the policing function within the state. Now, the clear separation of power to prevent overlapping jurisdiction and clear bill code that declines responsibility. The federal police force, the federal police force will be forced to focus primarily on interstate crimes, terrorism, organized criminal network, broader security, cybercrime, and protection of federal assets. This is basically what we should know about the state police. What do you think?
I think it's a good idea. I like the fact that they said that before you can establish it, they have some rules, ground rules, which is like you have to meet the I guess a minimum, but I have to maximum.
That's a minimum.
But I prefer maximum requirement.
Let's just hold it there. Let's just hold it there. We'll go for a short
Yes.
commercial. We'll We'll be right back. Don't go nowhere. Still 91.7 Wave FM. Stay with us, don't go anywhere.